This weekend, I officially get to graduate college. I won't get a ceremony. I won't walk across the stage in front of my family and friends. I won't get to celebrate with my classmates or throw my cap in the air. But after 9 years, I am officially getting my 4-year degree. Like most people, I started college straight out of high school. I always knew that I wanted to go to college. It was never, a back burner. It was something that I always dreamed of. When I was in middle school, I was set on being a journalist. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I loved writing, I loved questions and seeking answers. But when I got into high school, we did a lot of research on potential careers, and then the 2008 recession happened and the economy, which hit my family really hard. And I learned that journalism just wasn't something that was considered a career anymore. While we do have journalists, they're in very small numbers compared to the past, especially with the growth of social media and the internet. And I was worried that if I went into journalism, I just wouldn't be able to find a job. And that was really scary to me. So I decided that I was going to change my major to communications. It kind of hit all the same areas as journalism. It just kind of opened more doors though. And I felt like I could do a lot more with it. I never changed my major. It's something that I've stuck with since day one. I was always a communications major. I did it for a lot of reasons other than just the fact that it hits all the same points. I liked where communications could take me. I liked the concept of it. I liked that it was literally the concept of talking. And I've taken classes that have expanded on that and we've learned about what it really means to be a communicator and what it means to have conversations, and that communication isn't just talking, but it's also listening. And I've applied those strategies to my own life, my personal life, my professional life, and they're very beneficial. I would recommend taking a few of those classes for anyone, even someone that isn't a communications major, just because it does expand on a lot of things that we don't learn in other parts of our lives. College was just really difficult for me. I wasn't bad at it. I would attend classes, I would, take the tests and turn in my assignments. When I finished high school, I started at a local community college and was just truly unhappy there. I felt like I was in high school all over again. And for me, high school was a really hard experience and it was really difficult. So being in a place that reminded me of that and didn't feel like I was actually breaking away from it was really depressing. And I was in a hurry to get out of there. So I applied to a university in Colorado. My dad drove me out there. He left me there. I hated it. That is the only way I can explain it. I was 19. I didn't have a job. I had no way of paying bills. I had 2 roommates that I knew nothing about. My apartment building was nowhere near where my school is. And I learned very quickly that to survive in Denver, you have to take the highway everywhere. I am not a fan of driving in general, so highways are a huge no for me. That didn't last very long, and I moved back home. And during all this time, I didn't really think about what I wanted or even what I needed. I just knew that I was going to college and I knew my major, and I kind of thought that's all I needed. So I applied to the University of Northern Iowa, which I wish I hadn't. It's not my favorite place. It wasn't my favorite place ever. It was definitely the place I never wanted to go to school. But I applied there because I felt like I had no other options, but I had to go to college. And shortly after applying to the University of Northern Iowa, I started to get sick, and I was in and out of the hospital a lot. I was constantly sick. I had severe sinus infections that would very often develop into bronchitis. I even had pneumonia a couple of times. So I was spending a lot of time in bed. I was spending a lot of time at the hospital. I was on medication, and this went on for 2 years. And my professors were not understanding, to say the least. They just genuinely didn't seem like they cared when I would reach out to them and tell them that I am sick, that I am in the hospital, when I would bring them a doctor's note, when I would ask for a little bit more time to finish an assignment because I just couldn't get it done. I ended up leaving UNI just because it was exhausting and it cost a lot of money. My parents couldn't afford it, financially didn't cover it. So on top of being in school, I was also working a full-time job. So I left for a semester. I actually ended up in the hospital in Iowa City, where a very nice doctor explained that I was just kind of born very different, and when I was in my mom's stomach, I had actually developed a cleft lip that at some point had healed before birth, but however left a lot of impacts that for some reason just didn't get really triggered until later in life as I kept growing and developing. I did have to go ahead and have surgeries. I did that over the summer because I wanted to go back to school in the fall. But once fall came around, my mom actually got really sick just as I was healing. I took a couple classes because I didn't not want to take any classes, but she got sicker and then she had to have emergency surgery, which happened really late in the semester. So I was taking care of her after her surgery. I was driving both my siblings to school, picking them up. It was a lot. It was growing up so fast. And when I reached out to my professors again to tell them that I was struggling and to explain to them what was happening in my life, they just gave me this ultimatum that I was either gonna get the work done and show up to class to pass, or I was just gonna have to like fail. And that was really hard, and I tried so hard to stay active, to show up, to turn in my work. I even tried to email some papers to them because I wasn't able to bring them physically to class, and they refused to accept them, which was really frustrating because I think as a professor, you're supposed to help your students as best as you can, and not everyone has the same story. Not everyone has the same life. Not everyone is able to access things the same way. I didn't get the pleasures of living on campus and being able to attend classes and not have to work. I had to work a full-time job to be able to pay to go to school. I was still living at home, and I had a family to take care of. They left behind their family, their brothers, their sisters, their parents, and moved us halfway around the world for me because they wanted me to be able to go to college. And they knew that wasn't something I was going to get in our country. So it was really frustrating and terrifying at the same time to think that I was failing at this. As much as I wasn't going to school for them, I couldn't say that a part of it wasn't because of everything that they had done for me. And I wasn't going to just abandon them. I finished that semester, and then again I left UNI, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I wanted to finish college. I wanted to graduate. But I knew that UNI just wasn't the place for me. So I started doing research and trying to find where I could go to school, where I could still attend classes, have the time that I needed, but also where I could work a full-time job, where I could be available for my family. And then my brother got sick. I knew that it just wasn't the right time to go to school, because if I had signed up, I didn't think I was going to be able to actually give school what I needed. And after his surgery and after we got the clear that he was good, I decided to apply to Upper Iowa. And it was probably the best choice I've made in a very long time, life-wise, school-wise, and they communicate with you. They are an example of communication. And I wish that they offered the master's program online, because I would love to stay. But because of Upper Iowa, I get to actually graduate this weekend. If I was standing in front of seniors right now, in front of high school seniors that are graduating this year, the number one thing I would tell them is that it's not a race. You get done when you get done. Sometimes you have to let life happen. It means that not everyone is going to even start college at 18. It means that not everyone's going to finish at 22 or 24. And that not everyone is going to have the perfect job and house by the time they're 35. It means that you need to set your own timeline.